The learning process.
9. Communication at the service of our objectives. In this video, we will focus on the fundamental role that strategically managed communication can play in achieving our objectives, when achieving them depends on the decisions and actions of other people, institutions, or organisations. Many teams do not have a person dedicated to communication who can support technicians in this task. We have designed this tool so that people who are not experts can use communication effectively and strategically to achieve their objectives. The purpose of the tool we share below is to aid design of what we have called a mini communication strategy. Let's begin. The design is based on a 7-step path, and each step is directed by a guiding question. First of all, we identify the objective. What is the objective that requires communication support to achieve it? Not all of the objectives of our projects and processes need a communication strategy to achieve them. The strategy is applied when it is necessary to convince someone or give them an effective message so they act in a particular direction and help us achieve the objective. The second step is to identify our audience. Who are the actors we must involve to achieve the selected objective? In other words, who do we need to convince? Or who is the audience for messages we need to convey? You must very precisely clarify what their role is in achieving the objective. For example, whether they take key decisions or whether they can do something that is very important to achieve the objective. In the third step, we define the call to action. What do we need the audience to do? The call to action is often made up of a series of steps that we need the audience to consecutively take in order to achieve the proposed objective. The fourth step is to produce a detailed characterization of the audience. What do we need to know about the audience in order to get them to do what we need them to do? In this step, we analyse several aspects that may aid or hinder our audience's movement along the path they have to go to help us achieve the objective. What is their position in relation to the objective and their decision-making or action capacity? What could the barriers and motivations be for certain steps we need them to take? And what knowledge do they have of what we want them to do? In the fifth step, we define the messages. What do we need the audience to know? What are the arguments that will convince them to do what we want them to do? It is necessary to bear in mind that messages play a key role in mobilising the audience in the direction we need them to go. When you define the messages, it is very important to have a detailed characterisation of the audience at the ready. Everything we know about them helps to find the best targeted messages, those that are based on their motivations and help overcome the barriers. The messages must convey to the audience the benefits that will be obtained by achieving the objective. In the sixth step, we define the tactics. How can we reach the audience with the messages? Tactics are the set of materials, resources and channels that you must use to reach the audience with the messages in the manner and at the time they must arrive. It is possible that each message requires a different strategy, a different tactic, to help mobilise the audience in the direction we need them to go. Once we have defined the tactics we are going to use to reach the audience with the messages, we arrive at the final step, which is to define the resources required to carry them out. What do we need to put the strategy defined in the previous steps into practice? How much does it cost? And where will the money come from? This step consolidates the information that will make it possible to carry out the communication strategy, including the responsibilities, times, costs, and funding sources. We recommend producing this summary immediately after completing the exercise. Each of the participants should have a copy of the mini-strategy to monitor its implementation. The value of this tool lies in showing teams that using communication strategically need not be expensive or depend on having specialised communications personnel in the team. On many occasions, a well-prepared 10-minute meeting with clear messages and appropriate language can be very effective. A short PowerPoint presentation can be more productive than a costly publication. The mini communication strategy brings these simple tactics to the fore. In addition, when they carry out this exercise, most teams realise that the central point of communication is not producing materials, but instead properly identifying and clarifying the audience and knowing what is expected of them, defining appropriate messages, and using the right channels. In short, what we are looking for is the application of strategic thought and the use of tactics to make that thought a reality. This video concludes the presentation of the 4-phase roadmap of the learning process. We have gone a little further by proposing a straightforward communication strategy that can be very effective in achieving our objectives. In the next video, we will share thoughts and lessons learned, which we have built up along the way as we have applied the learning path. Basically, what we have learned through the learning process.